Okay, so today we're going to learn about how to read graphs. And this just kind of takes us a step further. So what if they give you the graph? How can we read the graph? And for some of you, this might actually help in terms of how to graph, because it just kind of wraps it all together. And I don't know, for many people, it just pulls it in. So hopefully this will help you as well. And so after we talk about that, I want to also just talk to you again about an indeterminate form of 0 over 0. 0 divided by 0 is not just 0, and it's certainly not just 1. It's not infinity. We have to kind of look at each scenario. And so that indeterminate form, much like with infinity over infinity, we have to examine the actual equation. So those are the two goals we have for today's video. All right. And starting with this one, if I'm asking for the limit as x is approaching 2 plus, what that's saying to the person that's reading that is, I want to know what's going just to the right of 2. Or slightly bigger than 2. So that means I'm going to find 2, and I'm going to look just to the right and see what's happening. And of course, it's going straight up, so that means it's going to infinity. If I'm asking for 2 minus, that means to the left, right? So that, or correct, rather. So I'm going to look to the left of 2, and it is going down. So how would I write that? Excellent. -1 plus, similar to the 2, that means just to the right of 1. So here's where 1 is. I want to look just to the right of that and see what the graph is doing. And sure enough, it's going up. So -1 minus, again, means just to the left. So again, we're at -1, right? We're going to look just to the left. And of course, it also is going up. So that's infinity. All right, now what about here where it says just 1? It doesn't say from the right, doesn't say from the left. And what's more is at 1, there's no asymptote. Well, then that's as simple as it can make it. That just means you're going to find 1, and you're going to look from the right and from the left. What is it approaching as you're getting close to 1? Just like here, where we're looking at from the right of 2, what's it approaching? Here, we're going to look to the right of 1 and say, oh, it's approaching 0. From the left, it's approaching 0. Since they agree, it's 0. Similarly, let's look at 0. If you think about 0 to the right and 0 to the left, it's approaching 1. Now these next two are pretty key as well. X is approaching infinity. That means as far to the right as you can go, and see what the last thing the graph is doing. Okay, so we're going to look all the way to the right. We're going to follow all the way to our graph, and we're going to look, oh, it's going down, so this would be negative infinity. Negative infinity, again, we're going to look all the way to the left. What's the last thing it's doing? And apparently, it's approaching 1. And if you want to be very specific, it would be 1 plus, because it's just on the top side of 1. So hopefully that helps you in terms of interpreting a graph and what those look like. And so as you approach graphing, maybe that'll help as well. As I said in the beginning, we're going to now look at an indeterminate form, 0 over 0. And this is kind of where I want to step for now. If you were to examine this first question, we have the limit as x is approaching 3. And we were to put 3 inside here, that would be 3 minus 3 over 3 minus 3. And of course, the top would be 0, and the denominator would be 0. Well, if you get 0 over 0, what that really means is that something can be simplified. And if not, then there's another approach, and you won't learn that until you get into calculus. But the truth is, for right now, it means that they're going to be simplified. And so looking back at this fraction, x minus 3 over x minus 3, what can that simplify to be? Of course, those both cancel each other out, and it equals 1. And so plug 3 in. Well, there's no x, so therefore my answer is 1. Let's try another one. We have here 3, or x squared minus 3x, so again, that would be 3 squared minus 3 times 3 over 3 minus 3. So we have 9 minus 9 over 3 minus 3. So I have, again, 0 over 0. But looking back, let's see if we can simplify. So we would see, oh, x minus 3's divide out. I'm left with x, so this is x. And then I'm going to retry and plug in 3. And that would be my answer. So let's try this one more time. Again, we'd have 3 minus 3, which would be 0. And on the bottom, we'd have 9 minus 9, again, 0. So we're going to simplify, and again, with fractions, you got to factor first fractions. That's why we spent some time in this unit doing that. We simplify, in other words, I have 1 over x, and I retry, plug that 3 back in to get 1/3. So here's your basic steps. Step number 1. if you get 0 over 0, you're going to first reduce, okay, which is going to involve factoring, okay? Step 2, you're going to retry. It's as simple as that. So you're going to reduce and retry. If you have 0 over 0, you're going to factor it, see what you need. So here, I jumped the gun here, but you would get 9 minus 18 plus 9. So again, negative 9 plus 9 equals 0. And on the bottom, 3 minus 3, which is also 0. So again, 0 over 0. Now, we get that. So what we're going to do is we're going to factor it. So I have x minus 3 and x minus 3. So the x minus 3's divide out. I'm left with x minus 3. Now I'm going to plug the 3 back inside, giving me 3 minus 3, or 0. So it's not that the answer can't be 0. It's that we're going to reduce it and retry it. Okay? So that is how to read a graph and then how to evaluate 0 over 0.